Anyone who was 7 to 13 in 2006 could wax poetic about how amazing Avatar: The Last Airbender is. And while I had a tentative grasp on consciousness at the time, I am a huge fan of the show. That same group, however, could also tell you about how disappointing and damaging the sequel series, The Legend of Korra, was to the same series. I might be a new fan, having only seen both shows in the past year, but I find that sentiment unfair to the sister series. Now, don't get me wrong, The Legend of Korra is not without its flaws, whether that be Nickelodeon handling the show like an unwanted stepchild or shockingly weak pacing choices. All in all, this show is not perfect. However, even with that being the case, not only do I fear the sister sequel to Atla deserves more credit, but I truly believe that The Legend of Korra does things better than its predecessor. That being, Korra is a much stronger and better written main character than Aang. Now, before I continue in my argument, might I add that Atla is, what I believe, the greatest animated show ever made, and it will take a serious amount of effort to dethrone it. That being said, the comparison between Aang and Korra is an interesting one and shows Korra to be a more complex and better written main character than Aang. In Atla, Aang is tasked with learning all four elements, defeating the Fire Lord Ozai before he basically destroys the world in a comet-fueled fire holocaust. That obviously makes for good TV, but I cannot say I can relate to that conflict. I can empathize with Aang and the tough position he's put in, but I don't feel that I personally have had to rise to my destiny. Korra, however, battles a far different conflict. Where Aang feared being the Avatar and had to come to terms with that fact of his life, Korra wanted nothing more than to be the Avatar, to be the savior of the world. Where Aang was a human who had to learn to be the hero, Korra was the hero who had to learn to be a human. And that conflict is shown through the entire show. Korra does have to save people in the world occasionally, but she also has to defeat her anxiety, her fear of failure, her depression, her PTSD, and her fear of not being needed. These are all things that I not only can empathize with, but can relate to. I can firmly say that I have felt worthless at times. I've felt anxious or depressed, alone even. And watching a strong, well-written hero gifted with extraordinary powers struggle with the same thing is incredibly convincing. I also believe that this plays into why The Legend of Korra was received so poorly. Outside of the obvious that the main character is a bisexual woman of color, I believe that people did not like Korra because she represents something far more relatable, that she reflects aspects of the audience in ways they don't want to admit or like to see represented. Korra is a complex hero, having to figure out how to live in a world that does not need the Avatar. Scenes of her experiencing tangible trauma and literally fighting an aspect of her PTSD are all things that real-world people have to struggle with every day. Characters like Korra inspire the filmmaker in me, and hopefully inspire others to create in their future. Atla will always be held to a supreme standard, and for good reason, but I hope the creators will continue to create characters that people can see themselves in. And with the news of their production company and confirmed show in the works, us fans have much to look forward to in the world of Avatar. But honestly, just give me a show about Bolin being hot and I will be forever happy. We're good? Gas. 5, 4, 3. Ooh, ah. My hands are so cold.